Am I the jerk for telling my child they need to learn to get along with other students? Our son, who is 13 years old, went to the same elementary school as many of his friends. We moved to another section of the city because my mother was very sick, and it allowed us to take care of her without driving 40 minutes each way. She needed to be checked on frequently, and we did it for her so she didn't need to go to a nursing home. However, we didn't think it would affect our son so much. My son is very gifted in math and engineering and is probably the typical nerdy kid. Things were fine when he was in the equally nerdy elementary school. Parents specifically go to that school district because of the advanced placement and international baccalaureate high school. The property values in the neighborhood make the schools there have special programs. There was a robotics program for their middle school, which I don't believe is offered elsewhere. My mother passed away 3 months ago. We are going to be renovating the home ourselves and moving in nearby. This process will probably take a year before selling. My older sister is in Europe, so I don't have other family help in this. The problem is my son has been complaining about bullying with the school year starting. He wants to go back to the original school district. My wife wants us to go back and rent there so he can go back while we travel 40 minutes each way to renovate after we both work full-time. This also means adding the cost of renting while we need to travel back and forth. My wife wants us to hire professionals and deduct that from the sale of my mother's house. I feel like 1 more year isn't a lot to put up with, but my son doesn't want to go back to this school when he normally enjoys school. He says the other kids make fun of him because my wife packs in meals. They bully him for everything according to him. The school he is registered near my mother's house is in a rougher area. I don't think it means it's bad, but he hates it and cannot seem to relate to the other students. I don't want him to be privileged and live in a bubble, but my wife, who also moved from a more normal school district to a more affluent and edgeskifte school, said it was more fun to be where other kids take academics seriously and didn't make fun of her for liking it. I have sat my son down and told him that life means he needs to deal with environments he isn't used to, and it's better for us, as a family and for our finances, to wait until we sell the house and can move back next year. He got angry and said he never wanted to move. I said it was for Grandma, and he argued that since Grandma passed, we should move back. I said he should try to get along with the other students, and the fact he cannot is on him. He refused to talk to me all week and refused to go back to school shopping, which is normally his favorite time of year. You are the jerk here, OP, for not prioritizing your son's health and education and teaching him that he isn't a priority. By forcing him into an environment that's bad for him just to fit in, you are compromising his personality, ambitions, and interests during a crucial developmental period. Instead of supporting him, you're essentially telling him to suck it up, which isn't a solution and can have long-term negative impacts on his well-being. If anyone should bear the brunt of a tough situation, it should be the adults, not the kids. Am I the jerk for expecting that my family cover the costs of the damages to my car? I bought my first car back in May of 2024. It is a 2014 Jeep Cherokee Sport, and it only had 26,000 miles on it when I bought it. The only repairs I have had to make were installing new tires and headlights. My family is currently split as my father took a job opportunity in Tennessee, leaving me, my mother, and my brothers in Colorado while I finished my nursing degree. My father left with their only car, and I have been lending my car to my mother to drive my brothers in need to work, school, etc. I personally do not mind lending my car to my mother to get us around. However, the more my car is being damaged and disrespected, I am starting to rethink it. It began with little things. My brothers would kick their feet up on the middle console, on the headrests of front seats, the windows, and even the ceiling. They constantly slam the doors, pull on the handles when the doors are locked, spill food and drinks, and shove trash under the seats and in every crevasse. My Jeep now has around 50,000 miles on it, and I've only driven it a total of 2 times on my own. A few weeks after I brought my car home, we were running errands when I heard a loud snap, and my younger brother got quiet. He proceeded to reach his hand into the front seat and dropped a piece of the rear seat vent cover into the cup holder. I found out that this piece is no longer produced by Mopar because of the age of the car, and the only replacement I could find was roughly $384, not including the installation. Because of the damage, you can no longer open or close the rear vents or change their direction. I was fuming, but my mother told me I could just super glue it back on and it would be fixed, and that she will not pay for the repairs because it is dumb to waste that much money on an older car. Today, when my mother came home, there was a huge chip in my windshield along with several smaller chips scattered around the windshield. I lost it when I saw them. I know that she cannot control if a rock gets kicked up by another car, but she immediately blamed it on the roads in Colorado and told me that I was overreacting, that it is not that big of a deal, and then compared it to the crack on the windshield of their car. She then told me that our car insurance does not cover glass and that I will have to pay out of pocket for the repairs, which is roughly $160 to $250 per chip, depending on their size. I explained to my parents that they would need to cover the costs of the repairs to my car, and if they did not, I would not allow them to drive my car anymore. They responded by threatening to take me off of their insurance and kick me out if I would not let my mother use my car. Everyone is still pretty heated and we have not spoken to each other since the argument. I hate to see my car disrespected by my family, and I am upset that it has been damaged so much in such a short time frame. So, am I the antagonist for expecting that my family cover the cost of the damages to my car? I think you are not in the wrong here, but it's crucial to get your own insurance and get out as soon as possible. Your siblings are old enough to know better, and their behavior isn't normal wear and tear. Finish up your nursing degree ASAP, get a job, and move out. Once you're on your own, never loan your car to them again. Am I the jerk for showing favoritism to my brother and not my sister? I am living at home, I help pay the bills, and they also paid rent for my parents. This is my 4th year at university, 21-year-old male. I have 2 younger siblings, a 14-year-old brother and a 14-year-old sister. For the sake of the story, we'll call my younger brother Dorian and my younger sister Lisa. My parents adored Dorian for about a year. A year later, Lisa was born with mild autism. From then on, apart from the mandatory feeding and diaper changes, Dorian was completely neglected. They recorded Lisa's first steps and words on camera, but not Dorian's because it is not that special, because Lisa is sick and Dorian is not. And it only got worse over the years. They completely ignored Dorian's education, and I was usually the one to intervene and help with his homework and study. They helped Lisa with everything, but if she did not want to write her homework, our parents left it to her and sent her to watch TV. The differences were also visible in other things. Lisa got an iPhone for her 8th birthday. Dorian got a set of pencils for his 9th birthday. He does not even like to draw. He only got an old Nokia phone when he was 13. Dorian is given all the housework, and if he asks Lisa to help, then Lisa starts crying hysterically, and Dorian gets scolded. Honestly, Lisa is a spoiled brat. She cries and throws tantrums in public if she does not get what she wants. She orders me and our brother around and uses our things without permission, then will not give them back and denies that she took them. If anyone calls her out on this behavior, then she's autistic, and she can't help it. This year, an extravagant party was organized for Lisa's 14th birthday. She received many expensive gifts, including an iPad Pro, a new iPhone, and a lot of clothes. Dorian's birthday is tomorrow, and I expected that my parents would usually forget, so I already made a plan for our day tomorrow. I will take him to an aqua park, then to a restaurant, and give him the gift I got for him. Well, when I shared this plan with my parents, it was not well received. Absolutely. They started arguing about the fact that I did not do this at all for Lisa on her birthday. I did not take her anywhere, and I left Lisa out because she's a girl. I told them that I was leaving Lisa out because she is a brat. This was the wrong thing to say because Dorian is now grounded, and therefore, because of his punishment, I cannot take him anywhere unless we take Lisa with us, so I cannot favor Dorian. When I refused, my parents called me a bad brother. I sincerely love Lisa even if she is a brat, and I do not want it to be a bad brother. Am I really showing favoritism? You did nothing to be ashamed of. It sounds like you're just trying to even the playing field for Dorian, who's been getting the short end of the stick for a while. Balancing attention between siblings can be tough, especially when one has special needs, but it doesn't excuse neglecting Dorian's emotional and developmental needs. You've been a great brother to Dorian, stepping up where your parents have dropped the ball, not showing favoritism. Massive kudos to you for that. Am I the jerk for accepting my coworker's job? Hello, my name is Carl, and I work in a company that offers its support to other companies. There are people who visit small businesses from the main office, and there are ones who are lucky enough to stay at one client. On paper, everyone can do any job, but in reality, people have their typical clients. The most hated job is phone support. I was the IT person who had to drive around the city and deal with tasks from small businesses. We have a flash meeting every morning to divide the new tasks for people who visit the smaller clients around the city. A coworker, whom I will call Jenny, had to stay home with a sick child, and our manager asked who could cover her. She was one of the lucky ones who had her own office, and this client's contract demands a local person. I agreed to do it, as it is close to my home. I ended up loving it there. Having a private office and being able to walk to work was great. I found out that the people in that office were not happy with Jenny. She often kept the door locked, so the clients had to call the IT support number and couldn't talk directly to her. She also refused to do anything that was not her job on paper. For example, when there was a problem with a TV, paper shredder, security system, or phones, she would say, "Not my job." I kept the door open and helped with pretty much anything work-related. Since the workload was not that big, I had plenty of free time. The paperwork, all digital, was also messy. Within the 2 weeks I was there, I fixed most of the paperwork. In the database, I found multiple computers listed in storage, while in reality, most were given to customers. This meant they had devices without proper documentation, and if a client broke a laptop, they were not accountable. That company asked my manager for a replacement. They wanted me to take over that client, and Jenny would go to the main office and deal with small clients in the city. I agreed. I even received a salary raise because the director of the client company decided to pay more for that contract on the condition that the extra money would go towards my salary. Now, all my female colleagues are upset and call me a jerk because they believe I stole the job from a single mother, and they think I am raising the client's expectations too much. Am I the bad person? You are not responsible for this. The logic that being a single parent means you can do a crappy job is flawed. Sure, raising expectations too much can shoot you in the foot, but nothing excuses bad paperwork. The main problem here is probably the low workload. People often get lazy and start doing a bad job in general. You provided service to the customer, and they preferred your availability over Jenny, who was locked in the office, so much that they're paying more. Am I the jerk for telling my spouse I don't want to throw my child a huge birthday party? I created a Reddit account just to talk about this. My youngest daughter just turned 1 a couple of days ago. Since both my husband and I had work, we decided to celebrate on the weekend. After what happened when my oldest turned 1, I told my husband that I did not want to throw a huge party. For context, my mother-in-law invited all her church friends to my house without my knowledge. What I thought was a small get-together with my family turned into 20 family members and friends on my husband's side that I had never met before. Also, I have not walked into a church in 8 years. They ate all of my food and trashed the place. Most of them showed up empty-handed. I spent the majority of the time sitting alone on the couch drinking wine as my child was being passed around by people I had never seen before. When the party was over, my mother-in-law left with them, leaving me to clean up after them. I spent hours throwing away trash and mopping the floor because they also all wore shoes in the house. My husband said he was going to put my daughter to bed, shower, then help me clean, but he never came downstairs. Needless to say, I cried that night scrubbing dirt out of my carpets. I told my husband this, and he got very mad at me. He has this idea that I hate his mother, which is not true at all. I love that woman to death, but she has no respect for my boundaries. I have told her so many times to not feed my youngest certain food because my pediatrician said she is not ready. But of course, I come to put her up, and my mother-in-law is shoving it down her throat. Her logic is that because she had 4 children, she is an expert on how to raise them. She keeps buying clothes that are too big or too small for my children, but if I do not put them on, my husband will throw a fit. I hate to talk badly about her because I know her intentions are good at heart. I know that it is her granddaughter too, and she wants it to be special, but at the end of the day, I am just so tired. Obviously, I want my daughter to have a good birthday, but it is not like she is going to remember any of this. My husband says that I should appreciate that his mother even cares enough about us to throw a party. I do feel guilty saying I do not want her at my house when she has done so much for us. I have told my sister about this and she is on my side, but I do not know what to think anymore. Sometimes I just feel so alone, like everything I say or do is wrong. What do you all think? You have a husband problem. He sees no wrong in his mother's actions even when they hurt you. If your mother-in-law wants a big party, suggest it be at her place so she can clean up after it. And if it turns into a mess again, just leave and let your husband deal with it. Am I the jerk for leaving a family gathering after mother and father-in-law allowed their neighbor to make a racist comment? I am a 31-year-old man and mixed race, black father, white mother. I am currently visiting my mother, who is in her 60s, and her partner of 10 years, who is also in his 60s, and we will call him John. My mother and John live in a small village in Wales, which is all white, but something I am fairly used to growing up in predominantly white areas of the UK. Today I was de-weeding the front garden to help out while visiting, when John bumped into one of the neighbors, Carl, who is also in his 60s, and called me over to introduce myself and say hi. In the very first conversation, I mentioned that I am here for a week from London. Carl immediately led into a story of how, when he was last in London, he accidentally bumped into a man who proceeded to be extremely hostile and ignored all pleas that it was an accident, becoming more and more belligerent, before adding and he was colored in a tone that low-key screamed he was a dangerous person, which both Carl and John chuckled at. Caught off guard by the comment, I immediately said I was going to finish up in the garden. I did another 30 seconds of work before putting the tools away and heading to my room. Shortly after, John came to my room saying, "Sorry about Carl, he just says it how it is," which led to me exploding and saying, "You don't care about what he said because it doesn't matter to you, but it matters to me, and you should care about that," before leaving to go on a long hike. Returning a couple of hours later, my mother came to my room in an attempt to resolve the situation. It did not go well. Mother began by telling me I was blowing it out of proportion, that Carl is a weirdo, and I should ignore his comments. I made it clear I do not care about Carl. I care that John allowed their neighbor to make a racist remark in front of me with zero pushback. My mother told me I should have spoken up and stood up for myself. I replied this is her friend. It is not my responsibility to correct them, and as a person of color, it is not my responsibility to educate every racist white person. My mother told me I was overreacting, to which I told her she is white. She has no idea of the experience of being a person of color and has no business telling me what is or is not racist or how I should feel. I have been forced to turn a blind eye to racism in my social life, in the workplace, in education, and while working abroad. I am not going to accept racism in a place I call home, and that I am packing my bag and going home tomorrow morning. My mother is furious. I will be missing seeing the rest of the family and believes I am immature for not continuing to discuss the matter as a family and at least finding a place to agree to disagree. I do not know what more there is to discuss. I do not know what compromise or level of racism I am expected to tolerate or how I am supposed to be comfortable in the knowledge that my direct family is comfortable ignoring racism and minimizing my feelings towards it. So, am I the jerk? You are not at fault here. John chose his path of allowing racism, and your mother is choosing John. She should be ashamed not only for condoning the racism, but also for not providing a safe place for her child. The proper amount of racism to tolerate is always 0%. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.